Can you guys hear me? Please tell me yes. Awesome. Okay. Sweet. Okay. All right. Let's get right into things because we've had a little bit of a delay. Thanks to I don't know what. We'll find something else to blame later. Okay, so really quickly, we're doing loose florals. This is what you missed when I was sort of muted. We did this Thursday before last. We did this last Sunday for our live, and we are continuing on in our loose floral journey. And we did this last Thursday, and we're going to use something very similar, a similar concept to this, to create something pretty today. So when I say something similar, I mean we're going to use the same kind of florals that we did. We'll use the same color palette, and we're going to just do a different composition. So hope you guys had a chance to check all these videos out, or at least this one for today. And if any of you are looking to further delve into how to do this style, or if you're having a lot of difficulty and just want a little more attention to certain things that I kind of zoom by in these videos, feel free to sign up for February's class. This is the theme for February. This is the inspiration that we're going to take off for February, and that's happening on the 26th. And today is the last day. If you sign up for it, 2 lucky winners will win a set of the Zen Art brushes that I typically have been using since the new year. So check it out, guys, and let's get right into our painting for today. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I am using. I'll put these babies aside so they're not in the way. Keep this one aside too. So I'm using my Legion Stonehenge 300 GSM paper. For colors, we are using the Rainforest palette by KMS Watercolour. Literally has all my favorite colors on here, and that's what you see over here in this painting from Thursday. I've got 2 little things of water. I've got a palette ready, and for brushes, we are going to be using the round number 8. Pretty much, they're all 8s. They're all 8s. I've got a Princeton Neptune 8. I've got a Zen Art round 8, and then I've got a Silver Black Velvet 8 again. Okay, so that's what we're using. And this sheet, it was just the other half of this guy here. So size of the paper really doesn't matter as long as you guys are following along. All right. Okay, so let us begin. We're going to start off by mixing a couple of colors. I like the whole idea of having like a nice diagonal kind of arrangement of florals, and then maybe around the edges we'll do some hearts or something. Let's just figure it out. So let's start off with mixing some color. I would like to start off with using the Princeton Neptune, and I'm going to be using 2 brushes at the same time, just like I did in Thursday's video. So we're gonna mix. I'm leaving the Zen brush for leaves or other things. Okay, so I'm using these 2 for our colors because I like my 2-tone florals. So we're gonna start off by mixing a little bit of the Hibiscus right here, and let's use the number 8 Princeton for that. I'm going to mix that in here. Okay, and I will mix some of the orange, which is the toucan. And I've got some color of that on here anyways. Oh, one more brush that I would like to add just to give us that nice soft feel, and this is just to lay down the water beforehand, is the flat brush. So where my flat brush at? Wow, what did I do with my brushes? Oh, here we go. So I'm just gonna get the 3/4 flat brush from Zen Art Supplies. Feel free to use a regular brush too. I'm just gonna get some water on here before we start doing our florals. I'm gonna start right in the middle. And I'm just roughly dampening this area with water. And then we're going to take some of the Hibiscus, which is the pink. And I want to get some color directly from the palette here, from the color cake, because I want it to be fairly potent. And so we're going to start off by doing the a rose, so kind of like the second flower that I did on Thursday's video. And so we're starting off by doing the outer bits of the rose. So just like that, we're kind of pulling, doing little C strokes to kind of have that cup area for the rose. And then I'm just going to go in with my orange brush right here, and I'm just going to add a couple of strokes to add this. You can see there's a little bit extra water, so I'm just going to add a couple of strokes in here to have that nice blend of orange happening right away. I'm going to add an outer stroke for the petal that's kind of falling outward. Again, I want to take an opportunity, I want to take advantage of the fact that this is damp and will give me a nice blend of color. So that's what I'm trying to do here. This is going to be the center. So I've added some orange already. I'm going to add, trying to leave as much white space as I can here, because I don't want the white space to kind of close up with the color. Otherwise it's going to look like one big blob. And then again, I'm going to go in with some of the orange and just add a couple of strokes here and there to kind of have this blend in. I love the little bleeds that it's giving me. And what I'm essentially trying to do is I'm just trying to make this flower stand out just a little bit. This will be our main flower before we go on to doing the other ones. And get used to like blending your colors in this way. And when I say blending it in, I mean like switching your brushes around and trying to get this beautiful mix of, you know, for today we're using pink and the orange. So try and get that in your painting. And what I'm going to do also is really quickly zoom in so you guys can see better. All right, there we go. So we've got our orange little flower there. I'm going to go back here so I can see better here. And now that we have this guy, we're going to go and do little flowers like this. So like the 5-petal flowers, okay? Before we go on to doing that though, what I want to do is just really dilute the color that I have on this brush and get some very lighter pinky strokes around this area here. So kind of like this to kind of soften the edges of this flower, okay? And we're going to go back and get a little more detail in this a little bit later. But right now we're going to move in and get some of the purple passion flower. That's what this color is called. It's a really pretty color from this rainforest palette. And I'm going to do about 3 flowers, or sorry, 2 of these, and then maybe some little buds for them. So getting some color on there. I should have used the orange brush because the purple and the pink go quite well together, so I'll just wash this one out. Okay, so now again, I would like to do a little bit of blending, so I'm just taking this brush and kind of dampening this area. very roughly. And then we're going to go ahead and create our little 5 petal flowers. So I'm holding my brush sideways, and I'm just going to press down and create these little strokes here to kind of make it seem like this flower is facing upward. And I'm pushing all the color down to the center. Okay, and at this point I'm going to get some of that pink, the hibiscus, and I want to add a couple of strokes of the pink right in the center and allow it to kind of blend into these petals as well, giving it that nice array of gradients almost in it. I wish there was a little more white space, but because we dampened the page earlier, that's not happening, but that's okay. Again, we're going to go in, get some of the passion flower purple, and we're just going to add one flower kind of facing this way upward. So it's kind of off in this direction, and that's why I'm just doing 3 petals here for that. And then I'm going back in to get some darker hue directly from my color cake of the purple. What I want to do is just add a couple of strokes while this is still drying up to give it some definition. And then I'm taking some of this pinky bits that we had here, and I'm just adding a couple of strokes onto these areas here. I want to lighten this color as best as I can to kind of get it to be a little more soft, so we can soften the edges a bit. And I'm just adding a couple of strokes here and there, okay? And now, right away, what I want to do, because this is still damp and nice, I want to get some of that nice tree frog green, which is this very light green. And I like the transition that it gives when we go first with the tree frog, which is the almost like a pistachio kind of green, while things are damp, and just create some leaves. So I'm just going to add a couple of strokes here and there, trying to get that blend in for the leaves. And then directly we're going to go into the olivey green, which is the darker green, and get some more blending happening there. So I am adding a couple of like green bits here and there around the purple flower. I'm going to add some over here too, and then some in between over here as well. We want to put it in these places so that they stand out a bit more, like each individual piece stands out a bit more, so there's almost like a break. Like you can see this one's dried up to be almost like a blob, but the saving grace about watercolor is even when stuff like this happens, you can always go in and kind of give it more definition by adding a darker color. So we're not going to stress out too much about things like that. So just adding a couple of these strokes here and there. And now immediately we're going to go in and get some of those canopy leaves. The color canopy leaves, that's what it's called. And I'm just adding the green right away while this is still damp. And if you've not done the leaf video on loose leaves, I suggest you try it out, because we go over all these how to paint these leaves in that video, or I go over it. So this we've been doing since the new year, and at this point I don't over explain this technique because we've been doing it for such a long time now. It's repetitive at this point. So getting some leaves in there. Let's get some over here. Notice I'm doing like these little tiny thin strokes. Or not, they're not really tiny per se. Tiny would be the wrong word to kind of describe it as. They're just strokes of like narrow strokes, I guess you could say, not small. I'm just dabbing away some of the green because I don't want everything to be super dark. Adding some green here. If you're unsure about lights and darks, make sure that your darkest color is always coming from where it touches the flowers, and then it's lighter on the outside. Okay. Just adding some green on this side, so this looks like it's the bottom of the flower. All right, so we've got that nice array happening. I'm going to do one more flower here at the bottom, and this one will be more of the orange before we go back up to the to kind of do our second layer for the top. So what did I have? I had the orange, this is the pink, this is the purple. So we're gonna do, I'm switching the silver black velvet to get the orange again. And this time we're just gonna do a little switcheroo. Although it would be nice to kind of go ahead and do some of the blue morpho color that we have. You know what? I'm going to do that. Instead of the orange, we'll keep the orange for some of the filler florals on the side. Let me get some of this blue. Let's do some blue. So this is almost like a nice turquoise at this point. And I'm actually going to mix some of this turquoisey blue with the passion flower purple as the secondary color. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe I should do the macabre. Okay. Let me just start, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. Because I'm looking at the colors right now, and I don't want that to be too overpowering with purple, because we got a nice head of purple at the top here. And yeah, so I think the macaw, which is right here, showing you guys, this is the macaw, will be a nice complement to the blue, turquoisey blue. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. All right, there we go. All right, so let's make this flower. Again, we don't want to reconstruct the wheel or recreate the wheel, so we're going to go ahead and just do the typical five petal flowers that we've been doing. I'm going to switch this around because I want to be able to easily paint this flower facing downward. And I'm going to face it actually more towards on this end, so this way we can have a nice kind of swirl of green if we want here, and then maybe just have like hearts in the edges. Let's just see. Okay, so getting some of the blue. Yes, let's do a little bit of dampening. I'm just going to randomly dampen this area here. And we're going to do petals coming from outward in this way. And get some of the other greeny bit here, which is also mixed with that blue. I'm washing up most of the color, so I have a lighter version of these colors, and I'm going to get a little bit of that happening at the top, pulling it downward. And then more here. And whatever little blue that I have here, I just want to add it to the center while this is damp, just so that it can blend in with the rest. And what I'm also doing is giving some of these petals some definition by just kind of going in and adding edge strokes to it. So I'll leave it at that. And then switching back to my Zen brush here. And I want to get some of that green. I'm going straight away for the canopy green at this point. And I'm just going to create some leaves happening right away here, because this area is damp and I want to have a nice blend of the blue in with the green. That's what I'm aiming for at this point. And then I'm getting some of the tree frog green as well, because we've got a nice potent color of the bright, sorry, not the bright, the what is that green called? Like a olive green, yeah. So what I'm essentially trying to do here is get a nice blend happening between all these colors that we have going on. That blue is a pop and a half, as you can see. And so we don't want everything popping at the same time. And so this is how we are kind of just going along, going with the flow. And I like the fact that when you mix some of this light green with the blue, it kind of gives you this beautiful transition of color. The same thing with the darker green as well. Like it's a beautiful blend. So kind of liking how that takes shape over there. Alright, so now that I've done that there, I'm going to switch this around again just so I have an idea of what it looks like up front this way. So I like how the edge looks there. I'm just going to add a little bit of the darker green here, kind of give some definition to some of the leaves. I'm adding some green here, the darker green. I'll just add a couple of strokes in this area too, because remember, you want the darker color to kind of blend in, not blend in, but more towards the edges where the greenery is meeting the floral. Adding a couple of hints of that green here and there to allow it to kind of blend into the damp lighter green. Okay, so we've got enough green here. Let me see. I wanted to do getting a little bit of that lighter green now, and I'm going to add just like some greenery happening onto the side of here. Dipping the tip of my brush in water because I want a lighter version of the green that I just painted there, so that now it can look like it is fading off. And we're just going to touch up the areas here. And what we are doing here now is we are feathering. We are feathering with a lighter green, and it really depends on how much detail you want to add or not add. Feel free to stop when you feel it is enough for you. I'm just going to go ahead and just keep adding. Oh, that's too bright. Although, you know what? to have just a blue at the bottom and then nowhere else kind of makes it seem really, makes it stand out. So it would be nice to kind of add a little bit of hints of this color or what's happening here just in and around other areas. So let's try that. And also on a lighter scale, nothing crazy. So that's why I am dipping the tip of my brush in water every time I'm adding a little bit more. So I think just those areas are enough. Now let's head back to our florals here and give it a little bit more pop. Okay, so we are going to add details, right? So first thing that we want to do is let's tackle these flowers at the top. We'll do the rose at the very end. So I'm going to get my passion flower purple. And I want to make sure that I don't have a lot of water on my brush, because when I start laying down my strokes on these flowers, it needs to be potent, and it cannot just dry up as a stain, because if you have too much water, it's going to kind of pool and then it'll dry up like a stain almost. We want this to look like proper paint marks. So that's why I'm kind of making sure I don't have a lot of water, making sure I'm getting the paint from my little paint cake as opposed to mixing it on the palette first. This will ensure that I get solid paint. So now I'm just going to go here, and this is the center of my flower, so I'm just going to go ahead and add quick little strokes all around. And that's exactly what we had done for Thursday's flower. So now the next thing I want to do is also add a couple of like dots all around here. Okay, and now just to kind of show you what we did on Thursday. On Thursday we had a lot more white space, so you can see the difference between having no white space and a lot of white space, and this can absolutely happen. It's happened to me today, so just don't fret about it. What you can do is just take the color that we've been using, so the dark purple, and just add a little bit of detail here and there. So like using just the tip of your brush, kind of just go around and kind of try and add some definition without going gung-ho all over the place. Like you don't want to outline each and every petal, but it would be nice to kind of add a little bit of definition here and there, and that's what really will make things pop out. So I'm just adding a couple of strokes in here, figuring out where my petal is, and kind of just adding that in. I am also going to mix a little bit of that blue with my purple, the turquoisey blue with the purple, because I want a slight variation of the purple to kind of, again, get in some detail into the center. So make it darker. Shouldn't have done this one here, but that's okay. Just add a little bit of strokes happening here and there. If something like this happens and you're not quite liking it, you could possibly just take a brush that doesn't have any color on it and just maybe try and take away the paint if you can. And if you cannot, that's okay. What we will do is just go over it with a little bit more of the purple so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. And this is also blending the colors in, so you're getting some blending happening too. It's not just Okay, so I'm going to leave that as is right after I put this purple in. And now we're moving on to that one over there at the top. So again, similar idea. Just kind of take the edge, take the tip off the brush and kind of just very roughly kind of add in a couple of strokes to outline, loosely outline some of these petals. And then you can just kind of take the other brush. If you don't want these hard lines, just kind of soften the areas. No, just you want some of that darker purple happening at the top. Yep, you can absolutely do that as well. Just make sure it's on a lighter scale compared to what we had. I'm making this petal dominantly darker shade of purple just because it is on the lower end. And that's good. I won't really touch any more of that at the top. The next thing, just going to add a little bit more in the center so it really, really pops. Okay, now we are doing the rose. And so for the rose, I'm going to go to the pink. It's got, the orange is really making it pop, but I'm going to go ahead and get some of the pink. And we are adding detail to the center. Now that it's dried up properly. Oh, I know I said we'll do the rose at the end. That's okay. We'll do the blue flower at the end. Completely forgot. So I'm just adding these strokes to kind of blend in, not to blend in, to give it more definition, giving the center more definition. And kind of overlapping in the areas where the orange is dominant. And now what I want to do is, as I am going outward in my strokes, I want to enlarge the area, the spacing. So we're really tight in the center, and then as we're going outward, it's wider. Does that make sense? Wider. There we go. So I don't want to close up any of the spacing, the white space that we have. So I'm just trying to overlap in areas that we already have stuff happening. Okay, so now I'm washing off most of my color, and with just water on my brush, I'm just going to loosely smoothen out these strokes that I've just added in. And I'm just loosening out some of the outer ones, not too much of the center ones really. And what this does is it gives you more layers. And actually what I would like to see happening is this area right here being a lot darker so that these petals falling outward don't seem like they're just blending in. So let me just see if I can get a little more pink on my brush, taking it directly from my color palette and just adding a couple of strokes here to kind of really enhance these key areas. Shouldn't have done it on that side. Just taking it off. Yeah, there we go. I think this is good enough. And so we've done that. Now it's the blue floral, and then we can do a little bit of hearts happening around, and then we're good. Okay, so what I'm doing is mixing some of the turquoise with some of the purple to get that darker looking blue. And I am getting our center in. I think even if we just went with just the purple and put that into the center, that would also make it stand out a lot more. And then the dots all around. Okay, just like that. I'm going to get a little bit more of that blue now and just add some definition, as I had done above, into this area here. Giving it some lights and darks just so that it stands out a bit more. So, you know, if you've watched the inking videos, technically you could do this with the ink, or you could do this with a darker watercolor. So literally what we did in the inking videos is what we're doing here. So for those who've watched that, here's the other option instead of doing inking, here's what you could do. All right, so there we go. We've got our nice bright floral composition here. One thing that I want to do, just so that we've got this blue kind of enhanced all over the place, is do something similar to what we did here. So I'll just get whatever leftover blue that we have, and I'm just going to add a couple of them at the top, and then go directly into the green to add some green stems for it. So I'm getting some of the blue. It's fairly watered down at this point. And I'll actually get some of my green handy and ready using the nice Zen Art brush. Okay, and let's just get some. I'll have some happening kind of twirling downward, so, or falling downward rather. So adding that, just a couple of like two-stroke style buds, pushing all the color to the bottom of the buds. And then I'm just going to add our green stems to it. I'm going to add a couple more so that these guys really stand out nicely. And I want the ones kind of falling, the ones tapering off, I want them to be a bit lighter. So I'm just going to try and get them to be lighter. of tapering off. So feel free to add like almost like dotted versions of it. So here we go, here's one stroke, here's another. Perfect. So I'll leave that there. So now the blues kind of tie in a bit. And last but not least, we get to do our, no, this is not last, because I do want to do a splatter of the blue or the purple or the green, I guess. Let's do purple actually, because I like the purple, the idea of like a dark splatter. So I'm getting some color directly from the color cake, and we are just going to splatter some. You should probably do some of that in purple at the bottom too. So I'm just going to add a little bit of splatter here, getting some water on the brush to kind of get some thicker looking splatter, although it's not falling as nicely. In between the purple flowers a little bit, and I want to get some over here. Perfect. I've washed up most of the purple, and what I'm going to do is do what I said I was going to do in terms of the having the little sprays. So let's have a couple, actually a couple over here. Yeah, sure. Let's do it here. I'm just getting some of the green and adding our stems to it. So again, this is on a smaller scale compared to what we had up there. Just adding a little little smears of green around this area here. Maybe even do a little bit of that. Splatter with the green. All right, so we've got quite a bit of that happening, and I think, okay, so two options at this point. I know I said we'll do hearts, but I really like how this has turned out without the hearts. And in fact, you could either, you've got two choices at this point. You can either do more green, but on a lighter scale, so like a lot of feathering, or we could still kind of go ahead and try the hearts anyways. What do you guys feel like? Let me know in the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. I'm checking out the comments really quickly to see if I've missed anything. Oh wow, you guys have been fairly silent. Hi Patty. Thank you, Patty. Thanks, Collins. Thank you, Blossom and Birch. You're really sweet. There's a ton of really great artists. I can definitely share. Beatrice, you're funny. You need a class to make splashes. Oh my gosh, too big when I want them, too small when I, yeah. So then you cheat. Remember my cheating technique where you actually take your paintbrush and do your little circles? Okay, so consensus has spoken. We've got more hearts than feathering. So let's do some hearts, guys. Okay, so I am going to, this is what I'm going to do for the hearts. We want different kinds of shades of the hearts, but we also don't want to make it seem too, because we've got a lot of color here, so we got to be careful. So what I would suggest is let's use whatever leftover color we have over here and then try and do some subtle hearts, and that can be like our feathering to this painting here. Okay, so I'm going to get some of the pink, watered down pink from my palette, and some of it is mixed with the purple as well, and so I've got different variations. I'm also going to do the double brush painting bit. So here's why. Because as soon as I put down one heart, I'm going to take the other brush and paint another heart and get some bleeds happening. Get a little bit more of that pink on my brush before I start to make a heart. I'm going to get some of that purple as well. Okay, so let's start off by doing, I want to do a heart right here at the bottom because some of my nail polish smeared on here and so it looks weird. Let's do one here. You guys can see, right? I hope. I don't have to explain how to do a heart. I'm pretty sure everyone knows how to do one. There's one heart, and then I'm taking the second brush that I have, and in fact just dipping the tip of it in water. I'm going to create another heart here. And if you're not getting a nice flow of color into the two hearts, I would suggest just taking your brush and just outlining that first heart again, and this way it kind of gives you a seep of color directly into the second heart that you've done. That's one way to cheat. Let's do another heart. This one with even lesser color and then maybe on a tinier scale. Dabbing off on my paper towel because it looked like there was too much color. There we go. Taking out most of this. Oh, let's get some of that green. The green floating in with the pink. And just one at the top here. You notice all my hearts are facing in the same direction. Try and give your hearts different, I guess, going off in different directions just so that it's got more of a natural random look as opposed to just everyone is pointed in the same direction. Let me get a little bit of that pinky bit in this heart here so it doesn't look so dull compared to the others. Do a super light heart at the bottom here. This one, let's just make it happening sideways. You want to give your heart some white space inside that might also be pretty and helpful. You can try it out. I'll give a couple of hearts up here. Let's do it in the greeny color that we have, because again, I find like it would be nice to have it on a duller color as opposed to a dull color in comparison to all the bright that we have, right? So yeah, maybe your feathering could be in the green and just like hearts all around. Although green is for envy, so do we really want that? Choices and decisions, guys, at this point. Choices and decisions. Get some of that green here. Yeah, I think maybe the green would have been a better idea, because you can see how this like really, it's very popping with this color over here. But because we have that color happening there, we've got some hearts here. I've done some here. Let's just do one more actually in pink. On a smaller, tiny scale here, so it doesn't stand out and on there. And just a tiny one here. Okay, so I think the tinier ones are a nicer feathering style as well. And then let's just do it in one more spot, and then that's it. So we've got some here, we've got some here. Let's do some right next to the rose. So if we're doing next to the rose, it needs to be really light. So here's one. Another idea is having these hearts done in metallic. So for those who are fans of metallics, maybe try the hearts in metallics, and that'll really give it a pop, but not like a colorful pop, more of a shine pop. At this point, what I'm going to do is after the live, because I don't want to prolong this for too long, I am going to make, I'm going to use metallics and create some patterns on the inside of the hearts. So I think that's what I will do on my end. But I've given you guys a couple of ideas now, so feel free to try something new and, you know, see what works. I'm going to try and get one more feathering heart on a much looser scale up here. Yeah, so now this looks like an entirely different purple, but you guys get the hang of it, or you're kind of seeing what it is. So I'll just do two tiny ones in green, not touching any of the other hearts. Put some of the green in there. This one there, okay. That's it. I'm not going to do anything else to this. I wish you could see how the pink rose has come out, because for some reason on screen it doesn't look as, this part looks really weird on screen, but in person, like, there's way more definition than what the screen is showing. But yeah, so this is what we have done for today. Okay, let me just see comments if people have any. And then I can bid you guys a wonderful Sunday. Thanks, Blossom and Birch. Yeah, okay, no one has any questions. Okay, guys, well, I guess if no one has any questions and we're good to go, then please tag me in your work, guys. For those who've done this along, let me see what you've done. And I am going to most definitely post pictures of this just as soon as I do my little metallic highlights, as I mentioned. And then we will, yeah. And then I will post those time lapses as well for that. But yeah, so these are the two. If you guys prefer something more heavy, this is what we have. If you like the thinner, more delicate, this is kind of with a pop. This is Thursday's video. So check these out, guys, and wishing everyone a very, very happy Valentine's Day. Whether you celebrate it or not, it is good to tell someone you love them, right? So let's appreciate all the people that we love in our lives, guys. And seeing some people saying something. Thanks, Leah. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Kathy. All right. Okay, guys. So have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy it with your families, friends, everybody. And I will see you guys for Thursday's video. So look out for that. Again, loose florals. Okay. Bye, guys.